Last week on the Tease podcast, we talked all about our predictions for 2026 and things that we see happening in the space as the year goes on for trends, for content types, for memberships. What's really interesting is some of the things we talked about last week have already come true in 2026. And this week, we're going to share a bit of the state of the industry for online business owners and what is happening this year in 2026. Hi, my name is Joanna Newton, and I'm the co founder of Millennial Marketer, an agency that helps people create their own digital products.
And hello, I'm Michelle Kulani Houston, the founder of To Be Honest Beverage Company, a non-alcoholic spirit line, as well as business coach and marketing mentor. Let's dive in.
I'm really excited to chat today because there has been so much chatter online about some big name folks and some big changes that are happening in 2026. And I have to say, we called it.
Yeah. I mean, the writing has been on the wall for a while, for sure. And Joanna, you're so integrated into this industry, considering what you do with Millennial, that you're seeing behind the scenes every single day with what's working and what's not. And being a data and mentors person, you're so great at seeing those things and what's happening. But now we're starting to see a larger conversation. I think the transparency maybe is happening now with what we're seeing large time either creators, personal brands, business coaches, and mentors that we've seen in the space for years and years and years, pivoting, changing, doing different things, bringing different things to the forefront. So it's exciting to see it come to fruition, even though maybe we've kind of seen it behind the scenes for a little while now.
Yeah. And today we're going to share what some of those big changes are and talk a little bit about what it means and doesn't mean for your business. Because I think sometimes when a big change happens, you can have a knee jerk reaction and follow suit with what another creator is doing. And it might not be the right decision for you. So we're going to talk through some of the implications. One of the first big things I want to break down is that Amy Porterfield, like the queen of course creation herself, has announced that she's no longer offering her capstone. I forget what it's called, but like her academy for
Full Course Academy, digital course.
digital course academy. I think I've decided not to remember what it's called because it's actually sort of the bane of my existence. I hate that course. And before we talk about her getting rid of that course, I want to talk about why I hate that course so much, because so many of my clients, they start to work with me and we work on a custom strategy just for them. They then get into this course academy and then they decide that Amy Porterfield launched this way. Now I have to too. And they want to copy her exactly. And the things that I've never been in the course, but the things that I learned about the structure and strategy of how she teaches people to launch, I always felt was very outdated. Like, just to be perfectly blunt and honest, not saying they didn't work for her, not saying they wouldn't work for someone, right? Those strategies can totally 100% work. And there's a lot of really good principles in there. But the way she taught people to launch, I found was a little bit messy, time consuming, unnecessary, and outdated unless you have this like very, very large audience. But she did announce that she will no longer be offering this offer and is changing course. And I find it really interesting in this world that some of these big giant courses, and there's a couple other people also doing this, big names in this space, are dropping these large, expensive, like masterclass type programs.
Yeah, the course space I think is really interesting. And I will say and admit that I think it's really easy for people to get started in one way. And what works for them at that time is what they're going to perpetuate. So I see these bigger, personal brands, creators, business owners who are educating other people on business, whether that's like your Boss Babe, your Brendan Burchard, even James Wedmore, Amy Porterfield, Jenna Kutcher, and all the things. Marie Forleo. I think that the complexity in which they approached their business courses is true and significant to when they were starting, which was at a time when digital courses were not the norm, when the digital landscape was totally different, when software was much more complex and cumbersome, when you did have to go through like maybe some code and multiple pages, and you had to really explain things, or you had to offer or position things in a way because people weren't used to buying in the online space. Like the years and COVID specifically has changed the consumer mindset. And so accessibility and ease of purchase, which we've talked about before, and people's willingness to buy online has shifted completely. So I feel like the way in which they've taught and coached is, like you said, outdated. It's completely overcomplicated because I feel like it was probably what was needed at the time, but it doesn't match how things have shifted. And even as someone who's done a lot of different courses and seen behind the scenes of a lot of different people's programs, like you spend so much time in the nitty gritty of doing the thing when really we're at a day and age where you could have a Google Doc, Venmo, or Stan Store in your social media platforms. Like, it's not what it used to be, which used to feel a lot larger in terms of investment of time, energy, back end, resources, like all the bells and whistles. And so I think we're seeing that kind of across the board in a lot of ways. And so I think people are realizing like, oh, I can't keep selling this. I can't keep
Yeah.
positioning this as the answer because it's not anymore.
And that's okay. And one thing that I want to make sure is super clear that we share in this podcast is this is not a Regina George moment. You know that like meme where it's like Regina George wore baggy pants. Is it army pants? Army pants and flip flops. So I'm gonna wear army pants and flip flops. I don't know. But like just because Amy is canceling her big capstone course does not necessarily mean you should, right? If you have a course you offer twice a year and it's making you money and you love offering it and your students are getting results and it's working for you, like you can keep doing it. But
Yeah.
what this,
Courses are not going away. That's
yeah,
not at all what we're saying.
yep,
Nothing is going away. I do not believe when anyone says the webinar is dead, courses are dead, this is dead. That is not the case. Like there's still millions, if not billions of dollars in courses,
yep.
in programs, in digital, in all of these spaces. I completely agree.
Yeah. The point is that you can just, one, if it isn't working for you, this is permission to cancel it, right? And anything in your business. We talked about this in our goal setting. Like if something isn't working for you, if it's not making you money, stop doing it. Like it's okay. So make sure your products and your programs, your services, what you are offering, you love them, they're working for you, they're making money, and it gives you energy to deliver them and work on them. You don't have to stay with a broken, tired model. You can change and you can move. And I think that's really, really important. But the thing that I think I take away from this situation is like we just have to start thinking about digital products differently. Again, if something's working for you, keep it going, but things that really meet people where they are and really give them hands-on help and really give them the motivation to actually execute on whatever it is that that course or program teaches. We said in 2026, I think those are the things that are going to start taking off, and this to me is a sign that that is 100% true.
Yeah, I will harp on this. I saw another piece of content about this where there was a business coach who was creating a piece of content and she was like, okay, hot take, you have to stop hand holding your clients. And she went in to talk about how like you can't coddle your clients and things like that. And whereas on one hand, I agree, like again, as a personal trainer, I cannot do the push-ups for the client. I'm going to be there to motivate them. But I'm also not going to say, hey, do 100 push-ups and then walk away. And I think that we're coming off of the back end or like we're at the tail end of this personality in the online space that's like, here's the system, figure it out, and just like the coaches, the business mentors, the people in the space who are creating for like teaching's sake to teach some type of skill or thing have just been like, here's the course, do your thing. And whether you're successful or not, it doesn't matter. I mean, what are the numbers? Joanna, you probably know better is like 8% of people actually do online that like
Yeah,
finish course or something.
I think that's right. I mean, I think it's around that like 8%
Well,
mark. It's
yeah.
low. It's low of people who will figure it out. People, generally speaking, have execution problems. There's no we know things, we learn them, we get a framework, but if it's not applied and not executed, it means absolutely nothing. And generally speaking, I think that that's where people lose sight, is not on the ideas, not on the frameworks, not on the steps to the launch, but actually doing it and actually putting things into the world. So as a coach, as a consultant, as a service provider, course creator, if you can find ways to make it super easy for your clients, your students to actually execute on the things that you have them to do, you're going to build so much trust, because people are going to say, wow, I took 10 courses about how to do this. This person actually helped me get there. So I love that idea. Like, yeah, we don't want to coddle people, but sometimes people need a reminder to do things. And if you can come up with a creative way that's going to remind people to actually do the things that they need to do to achieve the results that they want to achieve, you're going to be very, very successful.
Absolutely. And your success rate will go up, your case studies will go up, word of mouth, like you said, trust, authority, all the things that you want to build for like a long-term brand and persona is very positive. And when you can have something that people actually not just enjoy, learn from, but then can fulfill, that makes a huge difference. And I think that is going to be a big distinguishing factor as we move forward in the education
Yep.
space and the creator economy, is like fulfillment as opposed to just having it in the first place. So I think it's really powerful when we're able to integrate those things into what it is that we're doing. Again, you don't want to coddle your clients. You can't take responsibility for what they do and they don't do, but you can be the type of person who holds them accountable, who guides them in the way that makes sense for them, who gives them a step and then allows them to perform it, as opposed to giving them 1,000 steps and them feeling overwhelmed. Again, I think that the tail end of this way that we've done things has been very much, oh, the onus is on you. Oh, you have to do this course. And if you don't do it, then that's your fault. But I think that people are realizing, like, actually, no, it's not my fault. And I feel like there's this almost like, what's the word? There's this sense of like you're making the student feel bad by basically telling them. And as someone who doesn't function the same way as other people function, and I've had to learn that as a human and individual in the world, and especially as a business owner, is like Amy Porter, like, and we're not hitting on Amy Porterfield. Amy's great. But let's just say that her course is incredibly in depth and has all of these steps. I'm not the execution type of person who can follow all of those steps and do them properly. You know, I get lost. If I go this direction, I go that direction, I go this direction. And then I can't fulfill the course. And then I feel bad about myself because I can't do it the way that it works for her. And then if the coach or business mentor that you're working with is telling you like, well, you should be able to do this, and it's not my responsibility that you're not fulfilling this, then how do you feel about yourself? It's like the fish in the tree metaphor, that like if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, then it'll always feel like it's stupid or dumb
Yeah.
or incapable. And we need more learning styles, more hands-on support, more services like yours, Joanna, with Millennial, that can allow different types of personalities and people to approach this space and do it in a way that works for them, whether that's more simplified, whether that's more help and hands-on, whether that's a single step at a time. Like for me, what the program that I'm creating, I want it to almost be like a submission. Like you have to do this portion and then you submit it, you get reviews, you get feedback, you get hands-on, like, hey, this is yes, this is no. I've done not mastermind level, but like high level group programs, asked for specific feedback and not gotten just more like, well, you should be doing it like this. I'm like, well, I know I should be doing it like that, but tell me like direct feedback on what's
Yeah.
happening in this particular moment with this particular thing. So anyway, I
Yeah.
digress.
And your customer and your customer needs and your customer success has to be your number one. One thing, this is like a super small language change I made a long time ago, but early early in my more career than even consulting business, I'm the kind of person who's really good at doing things, getting things done, and remembering to get things done and all of that, which puts me in a position a lot of times where I'm asking for things multiple times or all of this. And when that happens to you, it's very easy when someone's like, "Hey, where's that document with the things?" Like you did today with the text message. Where's that text message? You found it before I even got to you, right? If I responded, you can find a text message for an idea for this episode. You found it before I got there, but say you didn't, and I was like, I can respond in multiple ways. I can say, "Oh, here it is," right? No judgment, no issues, just support. Here's the thing. Or I can respond with, "Well, I sent it to you on Tuesday, December 14th. You can just find it if you search," right? Those are two ways to respond. And I think sometimes we treat our clients like the second one, right? "Oh, it's here, here, here. You should have known." When we can just say, "Here it is." And we don't have to like prove we did the right thing at the right time and put it in the right place. No, we just say, "Here's what you asked for." And that's something I do with my clients where they may have think something didn't happen and I just go, "Here it is." That creates such a better relationship with your customers than proving to them they're wrong for having missed whatever it is that they missed. We don't need to tell them that. You know, if it comes up later as a customer service issue and they're like saying you didn't do something, that's not the case I'm talking about. But in a general relationship, just providing what they need when they need it and when they ask in a way that makes them feel like the star, right?
Yeah, I think as contractors and freelancers, a lot of times, and I see this again, like we see it marketed, is getting frustrated with clients for different reasons. Now, there obviously are boundaries that you can set as a service provider, especially, and containers that you want your clients to stick to, and you have to set that precedent. But at the same time, like they're paying you to do the
Yep.
work and do the service and be the person. And so a lot of times, like, you know, especially as a business owner, I have contractors in graphic design and social media and freelance for accounting and that all the time. And I am thinking about maybe 30, 40 different things, but I'm going to that contractor for that particular one thing, right? And so I'm relying on them to know what that scope of that thing is, right? Because I'm holding all of this other space. So I think we forget and we tend to like put the burden on the client or be upset with them or frustrated or ugh, like you said, like, oh, I already sent that to you or
Yeah.
that's sort of deal. But we take for granted the facts that like we have all the frame of reference for that one thing because that's our job for them. And so we get that. But then that other person has 1,000 other things going on for their business, for their whatever, for their, you know, everything else that it's like, yeah, they're just a person and
Yeah.
we help in that way. So I definitely think that that's going to be a huge shift that we see in the industry in terms of support services. Like I'm seeing a lot of very successful business owners right now, like that personal brand launch that you and I talked about before. I'm blanking on her name. It'll come to me, but she she has one offer, one core offer, and she does like 700K a month or something like that because she has like 350 clients and it's like anywhere between like 3K to however much per month. And it's a service and it's all about content creation. And she follows the same methodology, same framework for script and story writing, for the content creation process. They're responsible for filming and then they edit, they post, and they manage the social media content. And I think that we're seeing a lot of people not pop up, but either be successful or very fulfilled in business with a service-based option. And she doesn't have a course. She gives out a bunch of resources for free. Same thing you see with like Alex Hormozy. He gives all of his educational content away for free because his business model is different, right? He acquires, they run businesses, they profit and make money off of those businesses. So the education and the personal brand side of what he does is not technically for monetization. Even though obviously if you have YouTube and things like that, that's like a different side of things. But as far as like courses go and the education and creator economy on that side of things, not everyone's making money that way. There are other business models that lend toward making an income. And sometimes that service contractor-based side of things is going to be more successful, sometimes more scalable, and deliver on the service better. Because if you do have a course that people aren't using, it can get frustrating as a coach, as a teacher, as an instructor, when people aren't fulfilling what it is that you hope that they
Yeah.
fulfill, education itself, you know?
Yeah. Another big shakeup so far in 2016 that I want to mention is Jenna Kutcher, one of again, another big name in this space. She's no longer offering her podcast. It's done. She's stopping it. She's letting it go in 2025. Which again could feel like one of those moments of Jenna Kutcher is no longer doing a podcast. That means podcasts are dead. What do you think about that, Michelle?
Not. I did read, so what you sent over, which I did find, by the way,
You were very
as you're
good.
listening, I did do the due diligence and go back and look. I missed it at first, but I found it. So went to a link and it was a Threads post about some of the shifts that we're seeing of these big name people. And the comment section, I think, was the most interesting, and people like, that's offensive. Online, people are so defensive. It just is the crack up. To me, I think people are so uppity about so many things and defensive about so many things without really understanding the context or the situation or the person who's talking. Okay, that's that aside. Someone had mentioned that Jenna Kutcher has been through like a total rebrand through 2025, and she's changing and pivoting a lot of different things. And I think, in the comments, defensive stuff aside, I think it's important to acknowledge that businesses will evolve and grow, and they will pivot and they will change. And so, James Wedmore is someone who is actually launching, he started with YouTube, and that's how he got successful and popular in the beginning. And then he shifted and pivoted a little bit, and now they're going back to YouTube. I think it's important to pay attention to what platforms are spiking, peaking, growing, scaling, starting to reach more people in a certain way. We have different platforms for different reasons, and the type of platform, based on who you are and how you want to invest your time is important to decide. Knowing that Jenna Kutcher is going through like a larger evolution, I also think it's important to note here that sometimes not all of these decisions are purely based on metrics and data. There's also a human being behind the scenes. And so sometimes you can do something for a really long time, and maybe it's still getting downloads and maybe it's still leading to leads and sales, but it's maybe not sparking joy any longer. And we as personal brands and as our entrepreneurial business owner, minds can have it, is we get to decide where we invest that time and energy. So that's what I think about when I think about these pivots and changes in a big way, is that she's been doing it for a really freaking long time. And she maybe has exhausted the sense of like feeling satisfied with the process in and of itself,
Yeah, the big message it sends to me is like, right? This is your business. You are the leader of this business, and you get to do what brings you life and brings you joy. And maybe the podcast really wasn't bringing in money anymore. That's a possibility. There's a lot of reasons for that shift, but you can stop doing something that's making you money if it is costing you something else, right? Peace of mind. You don't love it. You don't enjoy it. And again, this is one of those cases. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs who are early in their journey, and they feel this pressure to do so many things, right? They feel like, oh, well, I have to be on Instagram, and I have to be on TikTok, and I have to have a blog, and I have to have a podcast, and I need a low ticket and a mid tier and a high ticket and a this and a master class. And we're looking at all of these different gurus and looking even at businesses that are already multi-million-dollar businesses and thinking that's what I need to be there. But most people start in one spot. And you need to start in the spot where, especially if you're bootstrapping, you need to start in the spot that's the content that you naturally want to create and the content that you can handle creating on your own or in the means of your budget, right? Like, you just have to keep that in mind. And I think a good case of this is Justin Welsh, right? He's still only on LinkedIn, right? Like, he only posts on LinkedIn because that is where he is. And he's very, very successful. He has a lot of other things. He's got a newsletter and he has a Substack and some other things. But like, he is primarily a LinkedIn content creator and building a whole business on it. So the key here is you need to find a platform and a content medium in a way to work with people that you love. both from like your organic strategy to your paid products. Like, what is it that you're going to want to love and wake up every day doing? Because if you don't set it up that way, you're maybe even more trapped than you would be if you were in a 9 to 5. Right? Because you're just stuck doing things you don't love to do. So if you like making video content, make video content. If you hate making video content, don't make video content. Right? And you get a say in whatever it is that you want to put into the world.
Absolutely. I think you have to love and enjoy. I'm going through that process right now is how can I simplify? How can I really love and enjoy and wake up wanting to do this? Because if you're in the creator economy, you have to have some platform that connects with people. Written, audio, visual. Like you've got to choose something. And we can look at all these things and say, oh, Amy's not doing a course anymore. Oh, Jenna's not doing a podcast anymore. Oh, it's like the list goes on. But like you said, we can only interpret it for what's good for us, what's working for us. And that sometimes takes some trial and experimentation. Sometimes it takes some testing. Sometimes it takes failing in a big way to figure out like, oh, this is not what I want. This is not what I enjoy doing, but you've got to do something. You've got to take the action. And I'm even in that place right now. Like I have some scripts ready and I'm supposed to be filming content for my personal brand. And I just keep putting it off. And I'm just thinking to myself, like every single day that I put it off, the larger it becomes and the more inaccessible it becomes. It's like you have to figure out how can you break it down? How can you make it something that is a low barrier for you and that you can do consistently and continue to show up for?
Yeah, definitely. Like, how can you make it so you want to do it? So it feels easy, so it feels fresh and something you can just sit down and do. The other thing that I think about with these big shifts is when there's these big name changes, it makes room for new people to come up, right? Because when thought leaders change what they're doing, there's still the demand for what they did. Like, right, someone was buying that course. Someone was listening to Jenna Kutcher's podcast. Now, when those things are gone, all of those people likely are looking for someone else for that same support. And so a lot of these market shifts can make room for new voices, new people, new ways to connect with people. And that's also, I think, very, very exciting, right? As these things shake up, I think we'll see some new voices and some new thought leaders coming into the space that hopefully will take a super fresh, accessible approach that we're talking about that's like getting things to market faster and simplifying and helping people actually do what they love and build businesses that are right for them. Those things are harder to productize in a massive course, but we'll see if someone can figure it out.
I like the opportunistic mindset is that you can see in a lot of these instances is saying like, oh, well, I can't do courses anymore. Or, oh, well, I can't do this anymore. Or, oh, this is no longer what people are looking for. Or, COVID happened and therefore people aren't spending money. Okay, the economy is bad, so people aren't buying superfluous things anymore. You can look at all of the things that are happening around you and respond in the negative and say, I can't do these things. Or you can say, oh, there's an opening here. There's an opportunity for this. People are wanting this now, so I can fulfill that need. And you have to use that as a business owner. It's like a Blockbuster example. Blockbuster never evolved as a company. And so they closed. There are so many businesses that close and close and close and close, typically because they're not meeting the market demands and the shifts and the pivots and the changes that are happening. So if you want to be a long-standing business, if you want to be a well-known name, you can pivot and react and change and grow and evolve. And you can go from a course to a membership, to digital guides, to a challenge, to, whatever subscription thing is next, make it up as you go, figure it out, try something new, and don't let yourself also be feeling that sunken cost fallacy. I think this is a good reminder to say, Amy Porterfield, again, as an example, put all this time and effort into this course, into this program. She's closing the doors on it. Maybe she'll reopen them again in the future. Maybe she'll completely rebrand it, rechange it, adjust it to meet the demands of today and what's happening in the industry. Maybe not. But she's not sitting there thinking like, oh, I spent all this time and energy on it, so I can't close it. She's thinking like, okay, that door is closed. We're done. We're moving on to the next thing. We can release things. And sometimes it's better for ourselves, our mental health, our sense of well-being, our enjoyment, and for our businesses from a financial perspective, when you're able to cut the cord and move forward and acknowledge and recognize, like, I put a lot of time and energy into that. Maybe I made some money. Maybe I didn't. Now I get to move forward and do something else. And I can continue to create, and I continue to manifest, and I continue to pour energy and heart into something. And it's okay for that to change and grow and evolve. Don't get lost in like, oh, I'm losing it, or I have to hold on to it. I have done that too. And so it's okay to cut it, move on.
Yeah. And I know for me, like all of my biggest business sort of like level ups or career level ups almost always came from times of crisis. Like something like COVID as an example, not to go into like detail of what those moments are, but like there's normally something kind of bad going on. And being able to step up in the moment either helped me get a promotion, helped me level up my business, helped me increase income, helped me create a product that was worth a ton of money. Whatever that was, typically happened in a time of shakeup, turmoil, crisis. So if you can be the type of person that can show up and pivot and actually use bad scenarios or setbacks as growth opportunities, I think that's how you're going to be able to come in and save the day and reach your goals by being able to work through those things.
Yeah. Do we have any more things that we're seeing? Changes, adjustments, industry trends?
I think that, I mean, there's lots of other things happening, but I think that really covers what we talked about today, really covers the heart of what we're seeing, right? People are shedding old products, people are changing major growth strategies, and that's just a sign that the industry is changing. And if you change, pivot with it, you're going to be able to be successful.
Yeah. And identify and acknowledge again what is going to work for you. Don't get hung up on somebody else's 1,000-step strategy that was successful for them. If that feels overwhelming or frustrating or not aligning, you start to pay attention to your gut and your instinct as a business owner and figuring out, where do I want to spend my time? Where do I want to spend my energy? I don't want to spend a ton of time behind a computer. Like, yes, I'm a digital entrepreneur in some ways, but I don't want to be behind a screen constantly. I don't want to constantly be creating graphics. I want to do certain things in my business and my life anymore. And so how then can I format my business, my brand around that? Because we're in the day and age of choice, and you really can like lead the life that you want and then build the business, build the identity, build the personal brand around that, which is really liberating. So very exciting.
Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Click Tease podcast. Make sure you subscribe to get updates whenever we post a new episode. And if you aren't already, make sure you subscribe to our Substack, where we take what we talk about in these conversations and put them into tangible, actionable things that you can do in your business. We'll see you next time.